In the reading Isaiah 52, this is when the Spirit of Yah returns back to his exiled people. This is when he's about to gather Israel and Judah. In it, it tells you, therefore my people will know my name. Therefore they will know on that day that I'm he who speaks. Here I am. In 2019, I heard it clear as day when the Ruach revealed to me that Jesus is Jesus. Jesus is for Hail Sus, as in Hail Mary. For God and Lord are titles, that's not a name. His people will know his name on the last days, when his spirit returns back to his exiled people. We will wake up from our sleep. No longer will we be blind. Another good reading on the awakening is Ezekiel's dry valley of bones. In the scriptures, it tells you that they will preach to you another Jehoshua, another Joshua. And that's exactly what they did. And to other scriptures, it tells you the same thing. Only there are some that trouble you and will pervert the gospel of Jehoshua. And again, but that we, or an angel from heaven, preach another gospel unto you, then that which we have preached unto you, let him be accursed. Back to the Kabbalah tree. On the top, the Canaanites always work with the tribe of Dan, the branch that broke off the tree of life. The center, Vatican, Janos and Sibyl. I'll be covering Sibyl. So you see your pyramid, your man-made religions? This is control opposition, mind control. Right above, you see the tribe of Dan, the queen. But above her is the Pope, the Holy See. And this is in today's headlines. This is the Jesus they gave to the world. Also, in today's headlines as well, you see what direction the church is going? You see little Knox holding the Bible? Get out of religion. Also in today's headlines, you know she's the mother church, so all churches are going to be doing the same thing. It doesn't matter which domination are you under. Demon nation is in the name. So this is who's behind their Mary and Jesus. It's Isis and Horus. And like I explained before, these are druids. And you see on the top, it says Lord, another name for Baal. And I already say how they work with the tribe of Dan, right? That's the House of England.
Looking at incredibly rare footage that the House of Windsor has attempted to censor. Just prior to her coronation as Queen of England, the Princess Elizabeth was initiated into the Welsh Druid Order. The Queen wore a green robe to signify her rank in the order. Known as Vate or Ovate, the Vates had the role of seers, similar to the oracles of ancient Greece. It's very interesting to see these pictures because 99% of people out there assume the House of Windsor is a Christian royal family. This suggests otherwise.
I also made a couple videos on the rise of the fertility goddess, Gaia. You see Vatican? Sibyl, right? And this spirit always demasculates the male. And it's very interesting to me how many people like to defend the name Jesus to me by saying how it was translated from the Hebrew to the Greek. But it tells you in the reading, you have sold the people of Judah and Jerusalem to the Greeks. And in the other scriptures, Israel and Judah will be gathered together to fight the children of Greece. And these are Greco-Greek gods. And also in the book of Acts, it tells you, Adonai, are you going to free Israel from Rome now and restore us as an independent nation? So why do we need to be liberated from Rome? And why is Yah coming after them? I covered this before. This area was designated to the descendants of Japhet, Europe and Asia, better known as Gran Tataria. And what we're witnessing today is the rise of Gran Tataria. And this is where the Tower of Babel was. You see your Greeks there, right? And also China. And it is true that the fallen angels did create a race of people, the carriers of the Rh negative blood type. And you will find Neanderthals in these areas, right? Asia and Europe. There are a lot of Neanderthal caves in these areas. The highest concentration of Rh negative blood type is France and Spain. These are colonizers, and these are the ones that spread Christendom throughout the world. And please don't get offended because my people, my island was colonized as well. And my family are mixed with Spaniard people. I am very fair and I have hazel eyes. We are new creations in Joshua. So now to the Holy Grail. So according to the Catholic Church, Mary Magdalene and Jesus ran off to France to live in a cave. And then they had a child. That's the holy bloodline, the Holy Grail. And people come from all over the place to visit this site. And there goes the three crosses. The Bible does say that they will preach to you another Yahushua, and this is the one that gave the world. This one, Lord Ball. I came across this video and I thought it was interesting, and I'm going to share it. You can follow him on YouTube.
Now what I want to focus on today is the word Nephilim here. Because one mistake a lot of people make is thinking that Nephilim just means giants. This abominable genetic deviation. But what if there was another deviation? Well, first of all, let's just go to the book of Enoch and see what it says. And all the others together with them took unto themselves wives, and each chose for themselves one, and they began to go in unto them, and to defile themselves with them. And they became pregnant, and they bore great giants, whose height was 3,000 ells. And they began to sin against the birds, and the beasts, and the reptiles, and the fish, and to devour one another's flesh. Then the earth laid accusations against the lawless ones. Now, if we go back to Genesis here, we read that the earth was corrupt in God's sight and full of violence. Now, I want to really focus on corrupt here. The earth was corrupt in God's sight. God saw how corrupt the earth had become, for all the people on the earth had corrupted their ways. And even before that verse here, Noah was a just man, perfect in his generations. This is very important, generations. There was a whole lot of talk of corruption here, and I find this very interesting because God was also mad with the animals, the birds, and the plants. But what had they done? Now, putting two and two together, remember how I said in Enoch chapter 7, the giants began to sin against the birds and the beasts and the reptiles and the fish. What we have here is a human skull and a Neanderthal skull. As you can see, the Neanderthal skull is vastly different from the human skull. Its bone structure is denser, stronger. You can tell it's more solid. Its teeth are stronger. And I really wonder, could this be a Nephilim? The earth was also corrupt before God, and the earth was filled with violence. And God looked upon the earth, and indeed it was corrupt, for all flesh had corrupted their way on earth. All flesh. Now, there is this thing called the Dead Sea Scrolls from around the 3rd century BC. Now, in the Dead Sea Scrolls, there is this one most interesting book called the Book of Giants. Now, what they found was little fragments, and what they came out with is this most interesting story. 200 angels who choose animals on which to perform unnatural acts, beasts of the field, from every bird, for miscegenation. Miscegenation. It means crossbreeding. It means taking different species and mixing them together to make something new. It is very curious how in Enoch, the giants began to sin against the birds and the beasts and the reptiles. The Book of Giants seems to call it miscegenation. Now, let's look at some Egyptian gods. The Egyptians had this big obsession with these half-animal, half-humanoids. Now, if we move over to Greek mythology, this is a centaur, another half-human, half-animal creature. This right here is some of the Babylonian gods. Once again, we see a half-humanoid, half-animal type creature here. This is another picture of a Sumerian god. As you can see, there is a pattern here. Half-human, half-animal beings who rule as gods. Now, what's absolutely interesting about this is that everybody originated from the same area. This right here is the Tower of Babel, built by the guys in the time of Nimrod. When they erected this, God came down and saw what they had done, and saw that they were in direct opposition to his command of being fruitful and multiplying. God confuses their language, and now they're split into 5 different nations, each going their separate different ways. Now, the Phoenicians are the Canaanites. In Numbers 13:33, we hear about these sons of Anak, who are literal giants, descendants of giants. Now, the Egyptians also come from the Tower of Babel, and today this is what we are finding in Egypt. Now, let's look at Babylon here. Again, they originated from the Tower of Babel, and before you know it, we have half-human, half-animal gods. Greece, of course, same thing. The mermaid mythology comes from Greece, which originates in the Tower of Babel. You see, the angels had done a lot more than just make giants on the earth. They had quite literally corrupted all flesh by crossbreeding different species and making abominations. You see, people always wonder how we get these different aliens and different creatures and different mythologies. Well, it all seems to originate from the same place. The Tower of Babel is what happened in that tower. What happened with this tower for all these different demigods to appear? You see, the earth was also corrupt before God, and the earth was filled with violence. So God looked upon the earth, and indeed it was corrupt, for all flesh had corrupted their way on. It really makes you wonder whether or not the people who built the Tower of Babel started looking in places they maybe shouldn't.
In a couple journals before, that's the God that they serve. And he is known as the God of transition, transitioning you to something other than what the Creator made you to be. That's the end time spirit. You ever notice every sci-fi movie or every hero movie that we grew up watching? It's always pushing humans mixing with these things. It's called preconditioning us. So when it happens, it won't be so shocking. And people will be more willing to accept it.